Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rock Your Block. I'm your host, Ruth Pegaron. I am the founder and owner of Lay to Rest Services. And today, we are going to be speaking with Brian Tucker Bay, who's the CEO of a casket manufacturing company. Brian is a native of the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. He grew up in the PG County area. He has been in the mortuary science business for 30 years to date. He has his degree as undergrad in sociology, and he also has a master's degree in human resources and project management. He achieved both of those from Bowie State University. Brian also is a veteran of a cop, I should say. Sorry about that, from Baltimore, where he served as a police officer for 13 years. So he'll tell us more about that. And then he also, in 2016, started his own company for deceit and transportation, in which he currently does that as well. So I would like everyone to please join me and welcome Brian Tucker Bay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
So I would like to just start with a conversation. Tell us more about you and how'd you come to the mortuary business?
Well, thanks for having me once again. And again, like you said, I am from the Washington, D.C. area, raised in Prince George's County, educated in the wonderful Prince George's County school systems. And I came to the knowledge of the mortuary industry when I asked my dad in 1985 as a freshman going to college. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I just asked him, what should I major in? And he suggested mortuary science. He went further into explaining what that meant and what all that would entail, thinking it would probably spook me, but it didn't. It fascinated me, and so that was my mental start. It wasn't until 1992 that I finally got an opportunity to work for someone's funeral home in the Washington, D.C. area, and I just stayed with it since then. Wanted to finish my undergraduate degree work first. I didn't want to complicate things. Mortuary science school is not easy, and so I wanted to get some things under my belt first and then come back to the craft, but I've been at it ever since then.
Okay, well, thank you. So tell us, you spent 13 years as a police officer as well, so thank you for your service there.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yes, I graduated from the Baltimore City Police Academy in 2001. I worked for approximately 4 different departments within that 14 year period of time, ending my career at the Baltimore City School Police, which was a thrill to work with our young people. But I always had the itch and the scratch to get back into what I really love, which is the mortuary business. And it led me to start my own transport company just to acclimate myself to the industry. And it served me well, because I enjoy helping people.
Okay, why Baltimore?
During that time, new city, not too far away. Sometimes it's not to your best interest to serve in that capacity where you pretty much was born and raised. And so I looked at that as from a neutral perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I must say for our audiences, they're probably noticing that you're rather tall.
Oh, really?
Yes, so I just would like to ask, and you're nice and lean,
Thank
so
you.
A lot of people automatically think there must have been basketball somewhere.
This is true, yes.
So is there any basketball history in your?
A little bit.
Okay.
I played ball in high school, was recruited pretty heavily. I did my freshman year at the University of District of Columbia, enjoyed that, and then I finished out at Bowie State University. I didn't go pro. But it did lead me to the opportunity to go to college for free for a little while, and then I went back years later. It wasn't free when I went back years later.
But you at least got a scholarship.
But I got my
Right.
start.
So your hype paid off.
The hype paid off, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So now, what motivated you now to fast forward a little bit? I know you said you started with your father telling you, but now today, you're the manufacturer, you own CEO of a casket manufacturing company. What motivated you to do that?
So, of course, thinking about the mortuary industry, you're thinking about probably owning your own funeral home. but I've always been the kind of person to think outside the box. Well, what really makes this engine work?
Okay.
You know, and so the different people I work for, I would always ask them different questions. Either they would answer it or not, but I still would do some due diligence to figure out, well, what makes this work? And of course, caskets for some reason fascinated me. I said there has to be something to the casket aspect of the business and to the engine aspect of the business and serving the public. And so I became more and more fascinated with it. I started studying over the years. I didn't rush it because it's not something you can rush into. Quite naturally, I'm just getting started. But I got started in 1992, so it takes time. But I said, you know what, this is something that I think I can do. I just have to put in more legwork and figure it out. And what I learned is you're not going to learn everything. You're not going to master everything. But if you're confident in what you know, you can get started.
You can get started.
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about a casket in general and what's its purpose?
Its purpose is to hold the remains of those who are no longer with us in life, transitioning to another aspect of life, but to preserve their remains and to give them a dignified burial, if you will. In years past, many years past, I'm kind of a history buff, so in many years ago, caskets were only for the elite. Those who were beneath the wingspan of the elite were only buried in sheets and things of that nature, and they were put in the ground. It has since, quite naturally, you know, gotten to the point where it's grown, where everyone can be buried in a dignified manner. And so you have caskets, you have coffins that have transitioned into becoming caskets just based upon the shape. Coffins are a 6-pointer, as I call them. Caskets are a 4-pointer. And it kind of changed as over here in North America, we wanted to kind of establish our own identity in reference of different industries, and so we created the caskets based upon that, you know, being kind of authentic in the process.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So you want to tell us a little bit about this casket that we have here on set today?
So this is one of our pride and joys here. It's made out of poplar wood. It's one of your more affordable units, but beautiful, and we chose poplar because it stains very well, right? It stains very well. This unit is what we call our 4-level top unit, where we are able to, if you can help me there, kind of, it's kind of unique.
Oh, yeah. This is unique, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, this
open
is
the top
unique.
there. So thinking about COVID. Now this isn't brand new. This is something that's been around for quite some time. Having your plexiglass component to your casket or coffins back in the day, they used to do that. I'm a Western history buff as well.
Okay.
And but I've always said that some of the styles that they had years past would be new today. And so I wanted to bring that back. And so I'm very excited about this unit here because, you know, we're dealing with COVID, for example. And so unfortunately, some people are not able to, or they don't want to have a full open casket, but this will allow them to still have an opportunity to view their loved ones without fully exposing them to those who want to come and pay their, you know, last respects.
Okay.
And so again, it's popular, affordable, beautiful, not easy to make, but we're happy with the, you know, the production side of it, and so and we have more to come.
Okay. And I noticed it's two. So both woods are popular, just one is stained?
Well, the whole unit
okay.
is popular. Sometimes you do have I call it the double jointer, which you may have maybe something that's maple, something that's popular, and we would identify that. And if one, you know, if that were the case, but this is a whole, you know, unit made out of poplar, and it's just a dual stain that we added to it, aesthetically speaking.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about the hardware? What's the handles made of? I noticed some black.
Same thing, but we wanted to make sure, of course, caskets have their own weight, and of course, you know, you have to be very concerned about that because you don't want the weight to, you know, give in to the handles. So the handles have to be strong enough to maintain the weight of the casket in general, and of course the remains when they go in the casket. So we wanted to kind of double joint all of the units to make sure that we have enough strength to be able to carry not only the weight of the casket, okay, the gravity is of course pulling on, but also the weight of the remains that are also in the casket.
Casket. And this is designed to do both of those things.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I got it. Well, what's the difference between a metal casket and a wood casket?
Well, metal caskets give you a larger variety,
Okay.
first of all, and they came along many years ago as a more affordable approach to those who couldn't afford wood. Wood has been looked upon as being more of an expensive, exquisite, line item in reference to the casket business. And so when the metal came along, there's so much you can do with metal, so many different varieties you can offer people with metal. And so of course, it's metal, and so you're able to preserve the remains in that metal unit versus wood. Wood, of course, due to nature, will break down faster, which is okay for some people. But metal also provides you with that as well, if that's a concern in reference to your clientele, so forth and so on.
So you find that people just, they just choose whether metal or wood.
Right, they just choose. Well, some people are big fans of wood. They have a vast history of it as well, and some just like the way metal looks. There's so many different things you can do with metal aesthetically that sometimes wood limits you. So it's all based upon one's preference.
Okay. And you said that it came about because of it was viewed upon as a little bit less expensive.
Yes.
But would you say that wood and metal, and I know there's bronze and copper caskets as well, and I think bronze is, if I have it correctly, pretty much the elitist of the elitist. That's the top of what anybody can get.
It is. And then, of course, the price change, you'll see a price change with that as well. Yes. So it depends on, again, what you would want. One is going to have a more lasting effect in terms of, the interment or what have you. Others are, you're able to seal them, keeping the elements out of it, meaning water, things of that nature. And so it's all based upon people's preference, price range, and things of that nature.
And I'm sure religious preferences have a lot to do with it as well.
It plays a part as well.
It plays a huge part. So that you helped us understand what determines a little bit of the cost. Now, when you said about water and sealing, I know that just in the earth, I was a general manager in cemeteries for some time, and I know that we don't know what happens under the earth. It's impossible for us to know that. However, our goal and for loved ones and families, they just want to keep the loved one as protected as possible in a casket and a vault. They add to those experiences for the family, and they make them more comforting choices because of that. And there's something called gasketed and non-gasketed. And does wood have that feature, or is that just a metal feature?
You will find that primarily on metal.
Okay.
And it's just it's basically a rubber sealer that they put at the edge of that particular unit or metal unit. And what that does is it provides a sealer that allows you to keep pretty much the water and things of that nature out of the unit. Upon burial.
Upon burial, got it. If you don't mind giving us a little bit of what you've done here. Now, would people primarily choose this for burial, or would they choose this also for cremation?
Great question. And what people are learning is that this is a crematable casket. And that would be, again, based on, a family's choice. What people are learning now is that you can actually have a actual funeral service, even though you might have your loved one cremated afterwards. The other unique thing that people are starting to learn is that they can be cremated in the same unit that they had the service in. So you don't have to necessarily take them out. We are focusing our attention to that market to help people understand that they can get the same effect that you would traditionally get if someone is going to be interned in a cemetery or what have you. You can do the same thing in reference to cremation. It's just a matter of just educating the public and helping them understand that you can, this unit, for example, is a unit that you can have a full service in, all right, for family and friends, and that your loved ones can also stay in this unit, and it can be cremated as well.
Okay. Now, would that fall in the lines of eco-friendly going green, and a lot of people are looking at green burials, which is something that the Jewish community as well as the Muslim community, as a part of their religiosity, is to have a burial with wood and nature products. So now it's moving towards eco-friendly and green burials. Would that be something your company is focused on as well?
We have those as options.
Okay.
People are becoming more environmentally conscious and aware, and so those units are definitely available also to people who whether it's their religion or not, they still want to be environmentally focused.
Yes.
All right, and they don't want to do anything to damage the environment, ozone layer, just nature in general. So we have those types of units based upon people's requests.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Would this be classified as even one of those, since it's all wood as well?
It's in the same family.
It's in the same family.
Aesthetically, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
It is absolutely beautiful. And when it comes to casket design, are you the designer of caskets such as this, or do you have like a team that
It's
focuses
kind of a
on
team.
design?
I and my cousin Anthony, we own a company, and we sit sometimes for hours and we just talk about different things and different ways we can make units. We call units caskets.
Caskets.
But and we'll just sketch out a few things. We'll talk about it. We may go back in history and see some things that used to be a part of the fray, if you will, and we may decide to bring it back because we don't see it any longer, right?
Yes.
It could be 100 years ago. So we always have this think tank process, as we move forward in creating different units.
Right. Well, thank you for that. Now, I just want to ask a little bit more about, there's a wood called veneer.
Okay.
I don't even know if it's a wood, actually. I'm going to ask you to help us understand, because I know that veneer caskets exist as well. So could you share a little bit about veneer?
Yeah, so this casket, for example, is all popular.
Okay.
Now, what we consider this to be veneer is if it was just a popular layer. And it may be compressed wood beneath the layer.
Got it.
All right, which is cost effective, still beautiful, but a family it might be more affordable for a family who still would like to bury the loved one in a wood, product.
Okay.
So that's essentially what it is.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense now.
Yes.
And I think you said something else, which is it's also just a different price.
Yes,
for
different
making
pricing.
something
Right.
like that.
So it might be an oak layer, but it's not full oak. So there will be a difference if it's a fully oak, casket versus one that may have an oak top, or it's just a layer coating of what would be considered oak, if you will. And everything else beneath that might be something that someone may call compressed wood or something of that nature that's affordable for us to make and affordable for the families
To do as well.
to purchase. Yes.
And Brian, I have a question that we talked about cremation a little bit earlier, and this is absolutely beautiful, and I think you did an awesome job from a standpoint of thinking about the family, doing a funeral, because some people still have funerals and then their loved one is cremated.
Correct.
Would you have a complimentary urn that they, after you would return their loved one, a funeral home would return their loved one to them, that would look similar to this, or?
Actually, we do.
Okay.
It's a complimentary urn that would actually come usually with the sale of whichever unit they would pick.
Okay.
And so that's to answer your question, yes.
Yes. Okay. Right. Yeah. Great. Yeah, because that would be, I'm sure if a family chose this for their loved one, or if someone is pre-planned and chose this for themselves,
right.
They may want that as a complimentary piece because
Absolutely.
of the beauty of it.
Yes.
So I can see where that happens. Let me ask you, as far as a funeral home goes, does only a consumer get to buy their casket from a funeral home? So is that the only way a person can buy a casket?
It's been the norm. I mean, I think most people, when death knocks on our door, that's usually the approach. Things are changing in reference to there being a larger market, if you will, for folks to shop and purchase a casket. On the retail side, I've come to discover that Costco's now in the casket distribution business. You have Walmart, you have Amazon. And so you have other outlets, if you will, where you could go and look at different casket companies or people who offer caskets for sale. But for the most part, and traditionally, and it's still in effect today, people still would reach out to the likes of you, to help them, in that process, of picking a casket and everything else that goes with the funeral process.
Okay. So they do have an option.
They do have
an option to do it there or somewhere else. Okay.
Yes.
When a consumer is looking to, no matter where they purchase it from, because we know the Federal Trade Commission says that any consumer can buy their products at anywhere they choose. So when they are doing that, is there any suggestions of what they should look for as far as a casket goes?
Well, the one thing they want to do is make sure that whatever's advertised, the casket is that's being advertised.
Okay.
And so whatever they say in terms of what the casket offers, if it says it has 4 handles, make sure it has 4 handles. If it's a sealer, make sure it's a sealer. If it has a certain type of fabric in it, make sure it has that fabric. It could be silk, cotton. You just want to make sure that you're getting what is advertised in quality. And if they don't have full knowledge in that, they can reach out to the likes of you to make sure that they're getting what is being advertised that they would get for the cost
of that. And then I think you said it earlier where it would just depend on preference.
It would.
As far as what they would be looking for.
Absolutely.
And budget, preference, religion, rituals, traditions.
Right.
All of those things are very, very important.
They are.
To selecting a casket. As far as the casket manufacturing, we know that funerals happen pretty quickly.
Yes.
Are you able to produce caskets fast enough to serve, the families that would need them? I don't know how your industry works as far as the manufacturer side.
Great question. And so one of the things we had to do is, in reference to the units we were creating, is make sure we had at least, for those units specifically speaking, available for the first 120 days when we got started.
Yes.
I understood that, listen, we don't want to put this out. We want people to want it.
Right.
But what happened is, they may want it 10 times over, and we need to be ready for that.
Yes.
And so, yes, we made sure we put enough, at our locations to be able to accommodate them, for the first couple of months.
Yes. And I know what was happening, just with the shipping and everything in the United States of what we're dealing with. I know a lot of casket companies that I work with, they say, have the family select 2, just in case.
Just in case.
So would you recommend that as well?
I would.
Okay.
2 or 3.
2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Because of that. For that reason alone.
For that reason, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
So one last question, and before I just ask you to, just tell anybody that might be interested in joining this industry. You've been in it for 30 years. You can give them some pointers. But before that, there is something called a full couch or a half couch. And you want to give us a little history on that since you're a history buff?
Well, yes. So the coffin used to be basically a full couch, meaning the full lid would come off. And it's all about aesthetics again. And you started having people put what I call a dual top on the units, right? Where sometimes they would only show the upper torso versus the lower. In this region, we primarily show the upper torso, right? We don't tend to show the lower. But I would like to kind of, mix it up a little bit in this area. And this is a full couch and have the whole lid open. And so it's all about, location, right? And what people's traditions are, habits are, things of that nature. But I like change. I like to shake things up a little bit. So that's essentially what it is. This is just a full couch where the whole lid opens, and then half couches if you have a dual lid process.
Okay. And is there a cost difference when you do full couch versus a half couch?
Yes, there is.
There is a difference?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But is it significant or?
No, okay. I would say it's significant. It's only significant in the product itself. Again, going back to what type of wood you want, what type of metal you want. And so that could be they're only difference in a sense.
In a sense. Okay. And I agree. I've seen full couches, funerals where there's a full couch, and it does have a totally different look because you see the whole person fully dressed,
Right.
Shoes and all,
Yeah.
versus the half couch where
Well,
you
it's
just
the same
see.
thing with some of our celebrities who passed.
Yes.
The great James Brown had a full
Yes.
couch.
Yes. Okay.
The Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, had a full couch. You could see her whole her remains in a
Right.
beautiful dress and beautiful red shoes. So that's the full couch.
Right.
Yeah. So that's
Yes.
that's the difference.
So it really sounds like it's just choice.
Just choice.
Yeah. So any funeral home would know about a full couch versus a half couch.
Oh, they're very knowledgeable.
Yes.
Yeah, and they will accommodate a family. They're not going to, per my experience, tell a family what they should or shouldn't receive. They'll just advise them. But if a family wants a full couch, the funeral homes will definitely oblige them and help them
With a full couch.
with a full couch.
All right, well, thank you, Brian. So
You're welcome.
again, that was the last question, but I want to ask you to just share, if any of our listeners just saying, I've always wanted to have an interest in mortuary or funeral or death or whatever it may be, what are some pointers you can share with them?
Well, one, pursue your passion.
Okay.
Two, do your research. It's good to make money, but it's better to make money knowledgeable, right? And having a true passion. And this is a unique industry in itself. People still have their fears of it, you know what I mean, and things of that nature, but it's something that we all have to face. So I would encourage people to definitely pursue it because it's fulfilling. But make sure you do your due diligence. And there are plenty of mortuary schools out there if you want to go all out, and who will accommodate you. Some cost more than others, but it's up to you.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And thank you so much for joining us today on Rock Your Block. And again, our guest today was Brian Tucker Bay. And we thank you all for viewing. And until next time, believe in tomorrow. Thank you.